The United States and Iran traded attacks after the downing of an American helicopter near the Strait of Hormuz.
The European Commission has proposed new sanctions against Russia targeting oil revenues, shadow fleets and soldiers.
Bahrain, Kuwait and Jordan sounded alerts and fired air defenses early on Wednesday as the United States and Iran traded attacks after the downing of an American helicopter a day earlier. Jordan said it shot down 5 incoming missiles launched by Iran targeting an area that's home to an airbase that hosts U.S. forces. Tehran had vowed to respond after the U.S. launched airstrikes on Iran, accusing it of shooting down an army helicopter near the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian media reported at least 2 series of explosions along Iran's southern coast near the strait. Later, U.S. Central Command said in a post on X that it had completed so-called self-defense strikes against Iran, adding that U.S. forces struck Iranian air defense, ground control stations, and surveillance radar sites near the Strait of Hormuz. Before he accused Iran of downing the U.S. helicopter, Trump had expressed renewed optimism over negotiations with Iran, without elaborating. Officials have been unable to turn the April ceasefire into a deal to permanently end the conflict, particularly as Israel intensifies and expands its military campaign in Lebanon against the Iranian-backed militia Hezbollah.
The European Commission has proposed new sanctions against Russia, targeting oil revenues, shadow fleet, banks, cryptocurrency firms, metals, fish products, and soldiers who took part in the full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
The objective of our package couldn't be clearer. We want to maintain the full intensity of our sanctions. And the way to do this is to ensure that Russia's profits from oil sales remain contained.
The main element concerns the price cap on Russian oil that the EU, along with the G7 and Australia, has implemented since December 2022. Last year, the mechanism was made dynamic, with the cap set at 15% below the average price. Yet the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz has pushed the price of oil up. This means that if the EU goes ahead, the cap will be adjusted upwards and it will grant Moscow some temporary relief. The Commission proposes to keep the price cap as it is now at $44.10 per barrel. In addition, it proposes to blacklist 30 vessels from the Russian shadow fleet, 31 Russian banks, as well as 20 cryptocurrency firms. The proposal also plans to deny entry into the Schengen area to Russian soldiers who have served in Russia's war against Ukraine. Approval of the sanctions requires unanimity by the 27 member states. If endorsed, it will represent the 21st package of sanctions since February 2022.
A consortium led by French plane producer Airbus has proposed developing a next-gen fighter jet after the high-profile German Franco warplane program collapsed. The move comes a day after German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and French President Emmanuel Macron officially ended the original project, following years of disagreements between their countries' industrial partners. Munich-based defense tech company Hensoldt said it had joined forces with Airbus and a slew of other companies to draw up an alternative plan. A spokesperson for the firm said the proposal has been submitted to German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius and Chancellor Merz. Pistorius acknowledged the existence of the proposal and said his office was still assessing it, but praised the stakeholders' continued interest after what he described as a painful breakdown of the previous initiative. The company said more will be detailed about the Future Combat Air System, or FCAS, and the next generation weapon system on Thursday at the Berlin ILA Air Show.
The European Commission has warned the Albanian government over a €1.4 billion real estate project linked to US President Donald Trump's family. Protests over the construction of a luxury coastal resort led by Trump's daughter Ivanka and son-in-law Jared Kushner in a protected Albanian nature reserve have entered their second week. A European Commission spokesperson urged Tirana to act to avoid jeopardizing the country's bid to join the EU, as accession talks require a candidate country to align with environmental rules.
Albania should refrain from action that could undermine the fulfillment of the closing benchmark, and we expect the Albanian authorities to act without delay.
The spokesperson added that the Commission has expressed concerns to Albania's Minister of the Environment about the potential shortcomings of the project and that the minister had assured Brussels that construction work has been suspended. Albania's Prime Minister Edi Rama has, however, defended the project, telling Euronews last Friday that resistance to the plans was part of what he called a, quote, hybrid war waged by people taking advantage of well-meaning sentiments regarding the environment. Europe must integrate the single market faster and create a European industrial strategy before the bloc becomes unable to compete with global superpowers, former Italian Prime Minister Enrico Letta told Euronews.
We don't want to be a colony of the US and we don't want to be a colony of China. We want to be Europeans.
In 2024, Letta published a report on how to complete the single market, which inspired the EU's roadmap on how to make Europe more competitive. The report recommended to create an energy union, integrate digital services, and the fragmentation of capital markets and foster research and innovation. Letta said that Europe finally seems to be catching up with the imperative to do something.
There was an acceleration in the last 3 months. The year 25 was a year in which we were all shocked by the new Trump 2 era, the tariff wars and the rest. Then Greenland happened. I think Greenland was a big wake-up call for all European countries and leaders.
The European Commission recently launched the new strategy One Europe, One Market to boost European competitiveness. Proposed reforms include the creation of a strong industrial strategy and the simplification of business opening processes in Europe.
In Lyon and around France there is grief and outrage. Thousands gathered in front of courthouses to demand justice for Liana, an 11-year-old girl murdered in southwest France. The main suspect, Jérôme Barella, has faced multiple complaints for sexual violence against minors, going back years. He was never investigated or questioned until now.
C'est pas un dysfonctionnement de un tribunal et d'un juge ou un procureur. C'est l'ensemble du système qui est à revoir en fait.
More than 150 rallies took place across France on Monday, demanding justice for Liana and an overhaul of the system participants say has failed to protect children.
Stop, ça suffit, on en a ras-le-bas de cette justice laxiste.
J'ai très peur pour mes petites filles. Et mes petits garçons aussi, hein, c'est pareil. Hein.
Il faut que le peuple se réveille et que le peuple dise qu'on en a marre, quoi, qu'il faut que la justice se réveille et que le gouvernement fasse quelque chose.
Il faut qu'il y ait des têtes qui tombent et il faut que la justice change de camp. Parce que nous ne pouvons pas accepter ça.
These rallies are demanding answers. How could a man reported multiple times for sexual violence remain free until a child was killed? And what must change so that it never happens again? Denis Loctier, Euronews, Lyon.
Rescuers searched ruined buildings in the southern Philippines on Tuesday to ensure no one was still trapped a day after one of the strongest earthquakes to hit the country in half a century killed at least 37 people and displaced more than 20,000. Many people who left their homes feared a tsunami. Waves up to 1.4 meters above tide level were measured in the Philippines, but the only tsunami damage reported was to 6 shanties on stilts in a coastal village. The earthquake left a trail of destruction, including in General Santos, a lively coastal city of more than 700,000 people, where at least 13 people were killed in collapsed buildings and due to falling debris. About 2,000 houses and 117 government buildings and facilities were damaged in several provinces, according to an initial government damage assessment. Authorities have warned that buildings that sustained cracks could collapse due to aftershocks, some of them dangerously powerful.
The countdown is almost over. Across North America, host cities are putting the finishing touches to preparations for the biggest World Cup in history. From Kansas to Toronto, officials say security plans are in place.
I think for the world, we want to show off that Kansas City is on the rise, that we are elevating. We are, no longer, as we say, a flyover state, we're a fly-to state. But we also want people in Kansas City to be really proud of this as well. We hope Kansas Cityans and those in the region are really excited to host and show off and proud that this came to their backyard.
Toronto will host 6 World Cup games starting this Friday. Officials in Canada's largest city say they are ready to welcome the world and are emphasizing its diversity.
Embrace this moment in our city, in our country's history, and experience all that this opportunity has to offer. We are ready to welcome the world, and we are looking forward to kicking off.
But beyond host cities' preparations and the stadiums, the focus is also now shifting to the national teams. On Monday, Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum presided over a flag presentation ceremony for the national team, 3 days before the country opens the 2026 FIFA World Cup against South Africa. Mexico plays host to 6 national squads in the country, including the Iranian squad embroiled in a war with the US. Meanwhile, as final preparations enter their last phase, fans and officials are confronted with some obstacles: exorbitant ticket prices, US travel bans, and visa restrictions. On Monday, Omar Artan, who was set to be the first Somali to referee at the World Cup finals, was dropped from the list of officials after he was denied entry to the United States. His entry refusal follows President Donald Trump's visa ban list and restrictions, including 4 competing at the World Cup: Haiti, Iran, Senegal, and Ivory Coast.